Nature is my church, right? And Mother Nature shows you a lot about life if you watch it.
Welcome to the Adventure Life Travel Show, where we explore how travel educates us, inspires us, and changes us in ways we never expect. I'm Jason Maynard, and each episode we talk with the people who make adventure travel come alive, from lodge owners and expedition leaders on the ground to expert trip planners who help travelers reach the world's most extraordinary places. Together, we'll uncover the stories behind the journeys, the moments that connect us, challenge us, and remind us why we travel. Today, I have a very special guest, Thom Barrett from Cape Cod. Thom is a world traveler, a volunteer, inspirational speaker, blogger, and author of several books, including his latest titled Living While Dying. In the book, Thom shares his journey of living with stage 4 cancer while maintaining an active life, volunteering, and adventures around the world, from Antarctica and South America to a circumnavigation of Australia. Thom, welcome to the show. I appreciate you
Hey,
being here.
great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Uh, I'm I'm always excited to talk with fellow travelers, hear their stories, which is basically this whole show is talking about travel stories. Um, but today is going to be a little unique. We're going to talk about travel stories, but also how they now affect someone who knows the clock is ticking. For many people, it's a taboo subject, and we're gonna break that taboo right off the bat. Um, Part of life is, as you said, is dying.
That and
Not a
taxes.
lot of and and taxes. There you go. There's no getting around either of those two things.
Nope, nope, nope.
So, you have this great perspective, this great outlook, um, not just on life, but travel and everyone's eventuality. So, tell me, was there one thing, or was it just sometimes a series of things that made you realize it's time for me to get out there and experience everything I can while I can?
Well, you know what, Jason, I came to that realization at age 40 before I was diagnosed with anything. Uh,
That's great. You beat it to the punch.
well, in a different way, in a different way, because and it's important to set this up because you'll better understand then my reaction because there was a change, right? When I turned 40, um, I had a successful career going, great family going, right? I was the coach of the soccer team and the basketball and doing all this stuff, attending
Oh
recitals
yeah.
and so on and so on. And I don't know what it is. Maybe I had my midlife crisis at 40 as opposed to 50, but I sat down and I said, there's something missing, right? There's something missing. I know I'm doing good stuff, but there's something missing about what I like to do in my life. And the penny dropped in terms of I want to spend more time outdoors. I want to spend more time, because I grew up in Detroit and then moved to the Cape, right? And so I'm basically a city kid, and camping and stuff like that was not part of my, you know, it was like the old, yeah, we go camping at Four Seas, right? Something like that. Um, and so when I turned 40, I said, I'm going to do things differently. And there were two reasons for it. One was I wanted to do differently. And two is that I realized that I could always be gotten, and I use that word purposely, when I was on vacation by work, right? Give me a
Yes.
call, and I literally have had situations where they flew a helicopter out to pick me up off of Nantucket to take me to a proposal, right? It's like, and I said, well, I got to find a way to get farther away, right? So part of me was saying, okay, I want to do the outdoors thing, and I want to go where it can't be reached. And this is 1996, so cell phones weren't existent, right? So all I had to do was be someplace different, and that's what started it. I started ski mountaineering. I started
Oh,
doing, long distance bike rides across countries. I started doing those kinds of events. And so the events became a series of conquests, if you know what I mean, right?
oh, sure.
I,
Can
yep,
I do this?
yep.
Ski mountaineering, which I think more people are now aware of. They probably weren't very aware of this in the
No,
90s,
that
but
was so embryonic then.
yeah, yeah. But now it's an Olympic sport. So looky
Yes,
there.
which is amazing,
Yeah,
right? And I'm glad to see that. I really enjoy watching it. And so so for a period of time from 96 actually, until I retired when I was 55, I did these 2 or 3 week events, right? Ski mountaineering, to take that point from, let's say, Chamonix to Zermatt in the wintertime, obviously. All right. It's called the Whole Trout, and it's pretty exciting and it's pretty demanding and it's extremely challenging. And I
yeah,
learned a lot, right? Just because you want to do something doesn't mean you have the skills for it.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I learned the hard way.
There's,
You got to match those two.
there's a difference there.
Yeah, you got to match those two. Um, so I raise this because traveling, and not just traveling, but doing outdoor events was what I was about. And I retired early when I turned 55, regardless of where I was in my career, because I wanted to experience more. Right. And I wanted to go for more than just 2 weeks at a time, because, your schedules are what they are. I wanted to go for
Yeah.
months at a time. Right. Retire. Go play the world. And so in 2012, I retired and I started doing that. Right. When I became 60, I decided I wanted to be a ski bum, and I built myself a device that goes in the back of my truck, and I lived out of it. It was great. And then I got diagnosed with cancer, and then things changed, right? In terms of, can I still do it, right? Can I still do the challenges I have in front of me, right? And
Right.
and so for a number of years after that, I did. Um, and then in 2023, I got diagnosed with stage 4. And so between 2015 and 24, I did a lot of stuff, right? I wrote a couple of books about it. But things changed after 23, and travel became therapy. And so I just wanted to point that out in terms of, I was always an adventure travel buff.
Yeah.
And then things pivoted in terms of, I still want to do these things, but I have to rethink about how I do these things.
We have this, you know, golden era, boomer mindset for some people that like you work, you take little vacations, maybe to the beach or Disney World or whatnot. And then when you get old and you're retired, then you can go on your big trips. And that A should not be how it is. That should not
Right.
be how you live your life.
Right.
B, too many people won't get there.
Yep.
They 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 get close and then you don't make it to retirement for whatever reason. And then what could be worse, depending on the situations, you do make it to retirement, but you have health issues that keep you from being able to travel.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and now all those things you look forward to are not there. At 40, you were like, I'm starting now. I'm getting out there. I'm going to see and do and experience.
And I brought my kids along with me, right? And
I
I didn't
love that
make it a
because that's what I do.
wow, but I didn't make it a family vacation, right? I don't, it's not like we're going to the beach, but instead of doing it on Cape Cod, we're going to go to South America. All right, that's not quite. That's 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 good, but it's not quite what I changed to, right? And so, for
Okay.
instance, um, I took my I took my youngest daughter to the Galapagos Islands, right? Again, we just didn't treat it as a visit and we're going to do a little hiking. She learned how to dive, right?
Yeah.
Beforehand. And so we made it an event where we were doing something that was experiential, that took her into a different set of comfort zones and uncomfort zones. And that's what we did. And so I've taken her on a number of trips. We yeah, which has always been great. And then my oldest daughter, I took her down to Belize, and we did things in the jungle. We lived in the jungle,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Hiking, trekking, blah blah blah. And then we did a paddle island hopping on the Belize Reef system, which was tremendous. However, one daughter loved it, one daughter hated it. She's
I,
my travel
I, ha-
companion.
yeah, I have two daughters, and one would be up for 90% of the things I throw out there, and the other is more like 10, 15%.
Yeah,
She's gotten to the point
yeah,
where she's like, no, thanks, Dad.
right,
Yeah.
right.
But it's one of those things. When the kids were younger, when my kids were younger, my wife's like, we need to get them out of the country. We need them to experience the wider world,
Absolutely,
more
absolutely.
culture, and just expose them, whether they like it or not.
Right,
Right.
right.
And the adventurous daughter was ready to camp out in Antarctica, sleep in the
Yep.
cold, get on the kayak. The non adventurous daughter, who stayed in the warm cabin with my wife while we slept on the peninsula, she was also the one fascinated by culture and history. And one of the first trips we took them to was Paris, because that's an easy one for young girls. They're going to love
Right,
it.
right,
And after seeing Versailles and Marie Antoinette, and we're in the Louvre, she finds the wing with all of that stuff. We're exhausted. There's no way we've got the energy to keep up with her for 3 hours looking at all this stuff.
that's great.
And we're like, you're not quite old enough, but we're going to let it be. This wing is kind of just one long hallway. You take your time. We're going to walk to the end and sit on a bench and rest, because mom and dad and little sister are wiped out.
Right, right.
And she took her time looking at all the fashion and the furniture, and everything was great, except for her tripping the alarm once. Um, as we hear the alarm going off, my wife's like,
Is that
that's
our
probably
daughter?
Isabel. And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, she got a little too close. Everything was fine. Um, but it was, here's a little independence to explore things you love.
Right. That's
We
good.
didn't know you loved this, but now you
Yep.
do.
But that's how you
Yeah.
find it. And to your point on it, making certain that you do this for your children in terms of exposing them to as much as you can, right?
Yeah.
And, some of us are privileged. I know I'm privileged to be able to do that by taking them out of country, right?
Yes.
But those different cultures are important because it shows that diversity is critical in terms of, I think, understanding and arriving at best answers. And so your daughters are like my daughters in the sense that one was very adventuresome, one is very cerebral, right? And I didn't realize at the time, but we went to Versailles, we went to Monet's gardens, and we went to
Yeah.
Barcelona and saw Gaudi and all this stuff. And she was but 16 at the time, my oldest, and I didn't appreciate fully until later how much of an impression it actually made on her, because she's now an architect, right? And so she loved, and I didn't fully appreciate, I don't think she did at the time, but the fact that she was introduced to these different architectural styles, that she wasn't just still living in, a Cape Cod vintage house with shingles on the outside, right? She saw things that were entirely different. Um,
The
and so that's
imagination, the world is bigger, and look what these people thought of and constructed and made. And
exactly.
the light probably didn't go on right then,
No, it didn't.
but the seed was planted.
Yep.
It started to
And that's
grow.
all you can hope to do. What is that
Yeah.
saying? What's that saying about older men who plant seeds? They'll never see the shade of trees. It's a
Right.
warning. It's a Wendell Berry.
They plant the seeds, and it's for their grandchildren to play on the trees, to climb the
Exactly.
trees, to have the swing set. That's exactly it.
Yep.
Um, you know, you do those things. My wife planted trees in our yard, and she's like, we're not going to be around for when they really mature, but somebody's going to enjoy them.
That's
Right.
good.
You
Yep.
take care of them. You do what's right. Same thing with your children. You do what you can.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's fantastic. My father loved travel. I've got two brothers, um, nieces and nephews, and he really would love to get everyone together in different places. And he'd be like, I'm going to find a house and rent and then invite everybody. And he would send out the email. We need to block off some time. And we would try and get everybody to block off time. And it would be anything from Defusky Island, South Carolina, which I had
Ooh,
never heard of when he had come
yeah,
up
I
with it.
have. Yeah, great little
Yep.
space.
Great little place. At one point, he was like, I haven't been to Puerto Rico. We're going to Puerto Rico.
Right.
I'm finding a house. We're going to have a blast. And we did.
Good.
And it was just a combination of getting everyone together and exploring a new place. And you're away, kind of like you said, you're away from work,
Yep.
right? You're away from the commitments of home, the baseball games, the basketball, the soccer. You're there with your cousins, right? My girls love their cousins. They play, they do all kinds of stuff. I'm with my brothers and their wives, my parents, and we've got this time together and to explore and experience these new things together.
And those experiences, I bet, brought you tighter together, right? Because
I
you're learning things together. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. Um, when we landed in Puerto Rico and we're driving, my father was in the car. We had multiple cars driving to the other side of the island from San Jose, and he was like, or San Juan, excuse me. And he was like, that sign doesn't look right. I'm like, speed limits in kilometers, Dad. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, I figured that out really early on because I'm driving and I don't want to get pulled over. So it's speed limits in kilometers. He's like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
we didn't know that going in. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's a good thing he wasn't driving in London or Ireland when he jumped in the car and not realize what side he's supposed to be on.
Oh, my mother has a few stories of the two of them.
I bet she does. I bet she
Yeah.
does.
And he might have finally just given up and taken the wrong side of the road to get where he needed to go. And I'll let her tell those stories because maybe they're not as family friendly as we want. But let's talk about some advice for people, right? For people who feel stuck or hesitant or are waiting for the right time to pursue those meaningful experiences, what kind of advice would you share?
Well, I'll give an example. So
Great.
I already mentioned that I was diagnosed in 23 with stage 4, and I started experiencing things, muscle mass changes. You're on hormonal treatment, and so your testosterone goes to 0, and so you're wanting to conquer things is somewhat subdued, right? Your testosterone fueled energy is somewhat subdued. But I still wanted to experience the remote places I had yet to be. I had been in some pretty remote places in the world, but I had yet to be at Antarctica, right? I had yet to have spent time in Patagonia. I'd yet to spend time in Bolivia. Yeah, I purposely wanted to spend time in South America, not for a week or two here, um, but I for 4 months, right? And so in 24, that's what I did. And I hope that I had the ability and the endurance to allow myself to spend those months traveling, right? Without fear. Um, and I actually worked with Venture Life on planning it out, right? In terms of being aware that I needed a guide from the moment I got off the plane so that my stress level in terms of what I had to do and where I had to go was removed, right? Which is a positive thing because we all have stress when we travel, right?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Airlines, where's our bus, especially if you don't speak the language, right? You're always looking for help and so we did a good job of identifying how to hold my hand. And one of these I can do everything myself person, but I really had to modify my behavior to your point. I wanted to still travel to these remote places, but I had to accept that I couldn't do it the way I used to do it. Right? Throw a backpack on my back and just head off, and then we'll let it play as it plays out. I had to be more structured. I had to know where I was staying. I had to know I had a guides to picking me up. I had to build in rest days, right? I had to build rest days in knowing in advance that you only do so much so long, right?
And those are important. Uh, Even people, and I have worked with cancer patients wanting to do some bucket listings, and they were like, "We need rest days." And like, we can do that, right?
Right.
Even people with other non-cancer, non-life threatening, sometimes they have chronic illnesses, and they're like, "This is going to wear me out." I go, "If you have the time, let's build in rest days." Right?
Exactly.
Travel can be stressful. One of the things I hate is not being able to control the airlines. Oh
Yep.
man, if I had that power,
We all had that power, right?
yeah, take that stress level right away. But when you get there, you're going to be excited. There's so much to do. But yes, sometimes with a little time, take that day, right? Recharge those batteries after 3, 4, 6, whatever day you think you need it. It's great, right? So
But
glad
it
you
also
brought that
does
up.
something else, Jason. It does something else. One of the things that I wanted to do after I retired was not to visit a place as a tourist, right? I wanted
Check
to
it
visit a
off.
place and check it off. Right? I wanted to visit a place and actually engage with the people who live there, right? And one of the
Yes.
things that I found on the trip is that building in this downtime, it allowed me to sit at the cafe for a few hours because I was there to replenish myself, but I was also sitting there watching life around me. And so, two things became very important to me as I readjusted my lens in terms of how I approach my holidays, my vacations. Um, Awareness and presence. All right, awake and presence. Those were two things that were different for me. And so, during those down days, I started to really use those days as a this is a different way of understanding what is what's happening here in Ushuaia, right? Or Ushuaia, however you pronounce it, right?
Ushuaia.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, right. And what are they doing here? And what's the pattern and rhythm, right? Because everyone is a destination point to launch off to someplace else, right? Destination launch off to Antarctica, launch up to the Patagonia, but still there was things happening of people who live there, right? And so I
Year
said,
round.
year round, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so what do they do? Where do they go? How do they do it? And so the downtime, um, and I didn't plan for this. It's just how it unfolded. But now I can tell you it was a good thing that unfolded, right?
We're
And
here for your insights, Tom. This is great.
well, the other and so the downtime, right? And the
Yeah.
downtime comes in two different ways. There's one is I plan for it. I will take advantage of it. And another is being honest with those around you. Now, when you're ill, the last thing you want to do is shine a light on yourself, right? That's the last thing you want to do. But I realized that if I communicated with my guide and told them my condition was not in a pitying way or I need, it's just like, listen, I need you to understand something. There may be a point when we're hiking this trail and I can't hike anymore, right? I know there's four other people engaged in this thing, and I don't want to be the guy that says, oh, we got to turn around and come back, right? I'm perfectly happy that if I can't walk, and as long as we're coming back this way, because it doesn't work
Right.
too well if you don't come back
Now,
this way.
if it's a loop, it's not a good thing.
No, no. And so I said, I'm just going to sit here. And the person we were out in Patagonia for this particular example. She goes, I don't think I can let you do that. There's wild animals. I said, all right. First off, I'm not four, and I've been out in the world before, so I could take care of myself. So, and my partner, God love her, she was understood what I would do, and she didn't say, "Well, Tom, come on with us, you have to, right?" Or "I'll stay here with you," right? No, she said, "Hey," and help me talk to the guy and say, "Listen, he knows what he's doing. He's an adventure guy. He's done backcountry. And I got to tell you, I didn't expect this again, but it happened, and I appreciate it. And I'm going to tell you about what is that as they left, and I sat here and laid down. I was not in a bad spot. I was right on a saddle, and in front of me were the mountains. Okay, and around me was all this lush wildlife. And as they walked away and the silence descended, I just sat there. First, I was pissed at myself for not having the ability to continue, right? And after that wore away,
That's normal. Yeah, that's normal. That's a first
I could
reaction.
actually see through my eyes and witness what was happening around me. And as I watched, I saw stuff that I would never have seen if we were making noise walking because, wildlife goes away. And then when man's not there, it comes back out and reclaims its space. And I was able to witness that reclamation. And it was fascinating, right? I
Oh,
mean, I
wow.
saw it, an eagle swoop down and grab something, and you can see it's in the talent as it came back up, right? I saw a rabbit, no big deal, but the rabbit peeked out, was looking around, doing his thing, boom, 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 until another animal came and it shot away and it followed. It's like, this is life. This is life. No, so
You were part of a
don't.
nature documentary right there.
But
No,
the
you
point,
were. That's what people try and film, but they have to sit hours and weeks and such on end. You just happen to be right there quietly observing
right,
as both part of it, but a silent observer. That's
right.
beautiful. Yeah.
And the mindset has to be important, right? Because some folks, type A personalities, which I'm like, like, oh, what do I got to do? You're going into your backpack and you're bringing out your book, or you got to, you're trying to read something in your whatever it is, planet holiday, whatever it is, to feel like you're doing something. And you got to stop that. You have to, put everything aside and really be present. This
Just be
notion of
right in the
being
moment.
mindful. Pardon?
Yeah.
Yeah, be in the
Be in the
moment.
moment. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then when you do that, that moment becomes bigger than what you ever expected, right? So modify your expectations is one
Yeah.
thing, right? Build in
Communicate with the
time.
guide.
Oh,
That seems
communicate with the
key.
guide. Communicate with your people that you're with. Like, so as
Yeah.
you must have taken a boat down to Antarctica, right? You're probably
Oh, yeah.
part of an expedition cruise, right?
Yep.
So I again I talked and oh, here's another good example. So I talked to my guide. So I was kayaking when I was down in Antarctica, right? And again, I told them, listen, because they kayak twice a day, and it costs you a bit of money to do that, to have that
Yeah.
excursion thing. And I
Yep.
said to the guy, listen, I'm not an everyday guy, and it's not because I don't like it. I love it, but I know my limitations, right? And that if I know I don't have it, I'm not going to go out. I don't want you to get all ticked off. It's not about you. It's about me. And and accordingly, right? And so I didn't go every day, and no one gave me a hard time, and they expected it, so that worked out well. But there's one particular instance where we were out, and as soon as I got into that kayak, I knew it wasn't my day, right?
That
I knew it
happens. Yeah.
wasn't my day. And so we're paddling out, and I'm not happy, and I'm having a hard I was in a shorter boat than I'm normally accustomed to. I'm a big avid kayaker, so I know, but anyway, I was in a shorter boat, and I was a little bit tipsy, and blah, blah, blah. And I flipped, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
in Antarctica. Okay.
In Antarctica, yeah, right? Actually, it's on my bucket list to do, and I did it. No, uh, and what I didn't panic, right? I didn't panic because I knew what I was doing. I knew that I had people around me. I knew that whatever's going to occur, I was not going to die at that particular time because there's so many people around me. And I bring that up because I communicated beforehand with the guide. And so when I did pop up, he did not over engineer things, right? He didn't claim that there was a problem. He didn't claim, and it didn't create an heightened attention. He just accepted it as a normal. Someone falls over, yeah, and it was there was nothing to it except for the normal process of putting someone back in the boat, right? Which I appreciated. It wasn't like, oh wait, the most injured person here is the one who's getting a condition. We have to, ring the bell and get everyone on. No, that didn't happen at all. And he let me do my thing, and I appreciated that, right? Um, and so again, for pointing that out is that even though if bad things happen, right, because you're not by yourself and you're with other people, don't panic. They'll take care
Yeah.
of you.
You've already communicated it to the guide. I stress that so often to travelers. I go, talk to them whether you're healthy or not. Communicating your preferences, your likes, your dislikes, making a friend, talking to these folks, getting to know them and their culture of wherever they are. But
Right.
in other instances, when things go bad, right? I had an asthma attack in Madagascar. I had failed to tell my guide because 99 times out of 100, I have this under control. It's no big deal. It spiraled out of control in the heat and the humidity. And I'm like, look, here's what happened. I'm sorry. We need to adjust. And
Right.
we're not going to let this turn anything bad. We're going to, but I'm going to need a little bit of time. And that's it. He's like, okay, let me make a couple of calls. Fix this. I said, you can't fix it, but you can make it the best you can. And I appreciate that.
Yep.
And my guide,
Yep.
Alex, shout out to Alex in Madagascar. He did fantastic.
Great.
He and got me what I needed and was able to bounce back and continue. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's not just the guides either. So on one particular hike, one particular trek, I had spent a little bit of time talking to a couple of people that we were with because it was a combination rafting, hiking kind of thing, and so this group
Little
of
group
people we
tour.
were with for a while, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, listen, guys, I may not be the strongest guy here, even though I'm the tallest and the biggest and the fattest and whatever it is, but uh, and that was I didn't say much more than that, right? And when you with guys, much more is not really necessary sometimes, right? A wink and a nod. I understand. I got you, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, I had no idea how much they accepted and how much they understood. But we're trekking up a hill. It was pretty steep. I was really freaking tired. I was at my end, right? And was like, why did I even think I could do this? And as I was about to turn around and give up, I'm not kidding, a hand over the ledge appeared. You so I grabbed the hand and they pulled me up, and it was Nick. And Nick and I had a brief conversation earlier. Not a big in depth who you are. It was like more of I do some backpacking, I do some hiking, I've done this, I've done that. Kind of like
Just a little get to know you.
yeah, and then and so he helps me up, and then we're walking a little bit, and I say, hey, because I had fallen way back from the group. I'm a slow walker, right? And I was not having the best of days. And yet he come back, not the guide, Nick did. And I said, "Well, why'd you come back?" He goes, "Well, I didn't see you around and was wondering maybe you got stuck or something like that. So I figure I'd just hang back." And sure enough. And so we spent the rest of the day together. And there was more than once where he helped me up. And I would have never reached where our end goal was had he not come
Yeah.
by. And then this is the kicker. We get back in the bus, we go back to town. And he's one of the guys, first off, to go to his hotel. Never said a word to me. It wasn't like, big hugs and stuff like that. It was just a statement of fact. He helped out because I needed it, and that was it. It was beautiful.
Simple humanity, right?
Exactly.
Simple
Exactly.
humanity.
Right. And sometimes you don't even need to communicate with others. Acceptance is a funny thing when you're ill. You don't want it because that proves you're weak. And that's the thing you don't want people to know. Even though I am weak, I don't need to have you, think it as well.
Yeah.
There was another time when I was suffering from um, heat exhaustion. I mean, really bad. I was
Oh, yeah.
almost fainting, dizzy, sweating and stuff like that. And we're walking up the steep hill again, and I'm again really slow, and people are walking by, and oh, you want some water? Oh no, I can take care of it when I get to the top, right? Well, there came a point where I had to sit down. I almost passed out, right? I'm, got my head between my legs because I'm trying to stop from passing out. And I looked to my left, and someone had just deposited a big thing of water. And by the time I looked up to find out where they were, they'd already gone, right? And I said,
Around
"Holy
the
shit!"
bend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gone. But yeah, I put the thing on the water on my kerchief, put it on my shoulder, started drinking it. Like this is exactly what I needed, right? Another example where you know people
It's
are
simple
nice.
humanity.
Exactly.
One human looks at another human and goes, I've seen that before, or I've been there. They just need some cool water.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
share and give it to you
Yeah.
like that.
Right. And then make a big deal out of it. Just keep on
No,
walking along.
didn't even
I
stop.
mean, yeah. So
Yeah,
when people think I have an illness, I can't do this because what happens if this happens or this happens, right? And those are
yeah.
the reasons why they don't do something. Well, I just given you a number of examples here. When you communicated, things change, right? A helping hand pops when you least expect it. A bottle of water shows up and you had no idea that it would show up, right? Or you flip over in a kayak. But,
Yeah. Well,
you know,
hopefully you're expecting a little help if you flip over in a kayak in Antarctica.
yeah,
But the other
yeah, you
times,
do.
yeah,
You do. But, at the same time, you weren't overly taken care of. You weren't
right.
you weren't treated like an injured person and then, had no voice, right? He let me
Yeah.
get back into my own pace. I saved my face in terms of, being able to get myself back in so it was a individual effort as opposed to being helped.
Great. Well, I want our listeners to know that if they have any questions for you or want to share a story of when they had a little helping hand show up out of nowhere, um, they're more than welcome to email us at travelshow@adventurelife.com. Or if they're watching on YouTube, put a little comment in the links. Uh, if it's something I can answer, I'll certainly do that. If not, Tom, I'm gonna come find you to get some answers if they have some questions for you. And if Nick's out there listening, hey, Nick, way to go. Email us. Tom wants to say thanks, even though you didn't want to stick around and say thanks. So the email's travelshow@adventurelife.com. So I love the little stories. You know, there, travel is a big thing when you leave the country, go to some remote areas, do some outdoor adventure style travel. But you remember the little things. You remember that hand coming across the ledge,
Yep.
that simple bottle of water.
Yep.
Those are lovely
They
little
make a
images.
difference. Make a difference. And they
Yeah,
help you understand that no matter how remote you think you're going, there are people,
they're there.
and then there's a built-in support process. You just have to not have your walls up, which I think as guys, and especially when you start getting a sick guy, those walls are pretty high because you want to protect yourself.
How how have you figured out a way to bring those walls down? Because you're right. I think men, especially men of a certain age with a little gray in the beard,
Yep. Yep.
build up walls a little bit more and more, which we really shouldn't. But also when you're traveling, um, it's almost like you start to kind of like want to you know, pull yourself in a little bit more. You have to expose yourself a little bit.
And then I think that's a critical point, Jason. Yeah, in terms of accepting uncertainty, accepting support, and there's another area. I just had it in my brain. Oh, and accepting being vulnerable
That may be
because
the toughest one right there.
all three are for me. All three of those were
Oh,
impossible. All right,
I
because
don't think they're impossible because you figured it out.
when I first started doing this, it was impossible,
Yeah.
right? And as I did it, I realized I have choices to make here, right? I can choose to keep those walls up and not go anywhere because I'm for fear, right? Or I can take those walls down and start to experience life that I don't have a lot of left, right? Um, and it's a win-win. But so, but they're not easy. Accepting help when you're a provider, when you're a fixer, when you've raised a family and that's what you're about,
Yeah. Yeah.
not
You've got
easy.
this role in your head. This is who I am.
Oh,
This is what
yep.
I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to be that person. That's someone
You know,
else.
when I retired at 55, I did want to become a guide, an
Huh?
outdoor guide, right? And so I retired, and then the first thing I did, I retired in July, and in August I went to Knowles. Have you ever heard of Knowles? Knowles
No.
is the National Outdoor Leadership School. It's an
Okay.
outward bound. Knowles, same kind of thing, right?
Gotcha.
Where they teach you outdoor skills. And so in August, I had signed up a long time before, but it started a semester, 90 days living in a tent in Washington State and British Columbia. And the purpose was I wanted to test myself to see, it's one thing being in a tent for a few days. What's it like in
Yeah.
90 days? How are you going to smell after that when you haven't had a chance to take a shower? Right?
Yeah.
And so I signed up for it. And again, I lost my train of thought. I went to Knowles to learn how to
You're
be a
getting out of
guide.
your comfort zone. You're becoming vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that they talked about a lot was uncertainty. All right. And now here's the rub for me. My career was a risk manager. My job was to take uncertainty out of the equation, right? In terms, I don't mean financial, I'm talking about operational risk. Make certain the process is so well documented, right? That there is no uncertainty, because who wants uncertainty? You want to exercise the same process. So I would argue with the guides over this particular point in terms of, I don't think so. And I didn't, the penny didn't drop then. No, and I still fought them, and the penny dropped when I found out I had stage 4,
That was the one.
because at that point I realized I have no control, absolutely no control over the disease. If it wants to progress, it will progress. No matter treatment, no matter what I'm taking for food, no matter what I do for exercise, it is going to do its thing. There's the
Risk
uncertainty.
management is out the window now.
It's right. So now it's a
Yeah.
matter of managing what you can control. And what you can control is what you is certain. And so
Yeah.
when you start bifurcating it that way, it makes it different. But it's not easy to accept. It wasn't for me. Uncertainty was not easy to accept. And my life now is uncertainty. I don't know what's happening tomorrow. If I'm alive tomorrow, it'll be a good thing. No guarantee, but accepting and understanding that is so. Those three things were important.
Very
Accepting.
important. Yeah. It's it's very tough. I While you were telling us, a movie popped into my head that's probably not as well known. Um, Along Came Polly with Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston. He's a risk management guy. He does nothing that's not safe. Whereas his old friend from high school, Jennifer Aniston, is this carefree, lives life to the fullest type of person. Um, which, in a way, we need our responsibilities. We need to take care of our family and ourselves,
Yep.
but we need more of that Jennifer Aniston character, that get out there and just live life. I don't know what I'm going to do next type of thing. We need to find that balance. We need to pull that fear away and go.
No,
We need to,
and that's what happened when I turned 40. Was I was Ben Stiller. That's a good example, right?
yeah,
I was Ben Stiller. My job was risk management. I managed my life that way. The career was tracking, the family was tracking, right? Was doing all the right things, but I wasn't complete, you know. And I started doing some of these, and so here, vision this: I'm a partner with a pretty large accounting firm whose job is to mitigate risk, and yet I'm skiing the Holt route, or I'm paragliding in the Andes, or completely opposite. And my clients would love to hear my stories because it just added a different flavor to how they were living their lives, right?
exactly. What was that emptiness? What did that feel like when you realized that there was something, emptiness or something missing at 40, when you were like, what does it feel like where you're like, I thought I had what life was supposed to be, but it's not. How do you
I
recognize that? I mean, it's got to be tough.
well, it wasn't easy. I didn't. I'm a very introspective person, so I did a lot of soul searching, and what was missing for me was um I was an athlete, and I competed when I was in high school and college, play ball, so on and so on, right? And there's something to that, the competitive challenge of doing something, attaining a goal or not attaining a goal. You lose a game, you win a game, right? And while I was doing that in the real world, business wise, I was winning proposals, or I was developing my children and da da da. That competitive instance of that moment when you're going one on one with someone on a ball game, right? That was missing, right? And I wasn't looking for a person on the other side. I was really wanting to challenge myself, but I said, there's got to be a way that I can do this outdoors or do this outside the family. And that's how nature took took its role, right? Where I found that I can push myself, challenge myself, compete with myself in a situation that could end up in not a good place, death, right? And
There's
that
risk.
that kind of, oh, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But we'll do it in controlled dosages though, right? We'll do it in controlled dosages. 2 weeks. There we go.
Yeah.
Then come
There
back
you
to your
go.
mundane life, but you feel as invigorated. You, as I like to say it, I stood at the edge of the cliff and I looked down, and I get something from that. I get something from that because I had to go from down there to up here to see this view.
There you go.
So now,
Okay.
sorry, I mean, one more point. So
Keep
now,
coming.
instead of me climbing all the way up when I know I can't do it anymore, I look for the chairlift because I still want that view. You know what I'm saying?
I no, that's actually a wonderful metaphor. You still want the view, but sometimes you need the chairlift. And that's
Exactly.
a-okay. You need to accept that, right?
Yes.
And there
Yes.
are people out there that won't accept that,
No.
and we need to convince them it's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, the way I look at it is what I want to do hasn't changed. I want to still go to the remote parts of the world. I want to see what others see that I don't, right? But it's the how that gets modified in this
Yeah.
stage of my life, right? I'm going to go on an expedition cruise that is managed, right? I'm going to have a guided tour in a place where I would normally have done it by myself, but that gives me a comfort that it wouldn't otherwise allow me to go by myself.
All right. Here's kind of trying to tie the two together. Can you think of something that travel has taught you that a doctor or a therapist or a book could not convey or convince you of?
Uh, well, yeah, there's a lot of examples.
Give me the most colorful. Doesn't have to be the best, but the most colorful, the one you think will stick with people.
Well, I
Because
think
come
I've
on,
done it once.
plenty of us have doctors that tell us what to do,
Yep.
and too many of us don't do what they say. But if you experience something when you're out in the world and it changes you,
So I have. I'm going to use this metaphor. So nature is my church, right? And Mother Nature shows you a lot about life if you watch it. A lot of things you can learn if you watch it, right? Predators, are they bad? Well, no. I mean, they're needed in
yeah,
terms of balancing things out. If you don't have a predator, then you get too much of something, right? And so
correct.
you apply that to your life. So, what's causing me to be sick, right? Is it too much of this, too much of that? And so I use so nature is my church. I love spending time there because I learn new lessons, right? When and Mother Nature can be devastating, right? a storm comes through that
Yeah.
tears down trees, right? And you would think, ah, that's terrible. Well, is it? Mother Nature's come through and said, you trees, you've lived your life. And
You're
we need to
old,
have
you're
you
weak,
be part of the next one where you fall down, you die, you regenerate. And what you're doing is providing food for the next generation of trees, right? That's life.
and shelter for animals who have a shorter
Exactly.
lifespan, but they need that. They can live in those down trees.
Right. And so I found that my health is really determined upon the amount of time I spend out there. Because when I come back, I'm invigorated, right? My mind is clear. It just sounds like I've gone to church, and I have gone to church. My mind is clear. My heart is full, right? And that makes a big difference in terms of how you approach things. When you have those things, you're in a good space.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Um, no, no, it's perfect because uh, in my notes, it says here that you call yourself a cancer thriver.
Yeah.
And that is an incredible way to look at it. And I think that is why, because you think of yourself as this, that's why you continue to plan these, I'll call them ambitious trips. They could be ambitious for young, healthy folks. You're doing it as a stage 4 cancer patient. It, I assume that it's Mother Nature that motivates you to get out in the world. Am I wrong?
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
that's the
No, it
main
is
goal?
to
Because
be present.
you can't know once you're out in Mother Nature what's going to happen, what you're going to see, experience, hear, feel, any of that.
Nope. And for me, it provides answers to some questions, right? Is a single person's life just a single event? Is that tree a single life? No. I mean, it exists because other trees before it fell down, nurtured it, and gave it the land that it's growing out of. And when it dies, it's going to do the exact same thing. And so the cycle here is constant of regeneration, not extraction only, it's regeneration. And that notion of regeneration is very important to us as people, right? Because we want to create and recreate good things for other people as well. And so, um, not to get too philosophical, but yeah, that's what it's about
Well,
for me.
that's perfect. No, and we can be philosophical. We can talk about just about anything, and I don't mind a little philosophy, especially when it comes to trying to make ourselves better, appreciate the world more, and guess what? Yes, travel. Uh, and traveling solo. You've traveled with your family, but you've also traveled solo on some
Yeah,
long trips.
yep.
And
I like
yeah, give me some advice in general for a solo travel, going independently out there, but also as a cancer thriver traveling solo.
well, hopefully I've given you some ideas on the thriving and traveling with cancer in terms
Oh yeah,
of
yeah.
communicating, right? Um, but another lesson that's important, and I didn't learn this as a cancer patient, I just learned this as life, is making certain that you have the skills necessary to do what you're going off to do. Because
Like the kayaking. Just as an
yeah,
example,
right.
you, an experienced kayaker in Antarctica, it's usually fairly calm, but you signed up to kayak every day. You knew how to kayak. When I went with my adventurous daughter, she had been kayaking a couple of times. And I'm like, we're going to sign up for one kayaking. We're going to do double. I'll be with you. It's knowing what you want to do, balancing that with your limitations, not being scared. Was she scared? She probably was trying not to, say it too much,
Yep.
but she
Oh, you
got
always
out there and did it,
right.
right? You may not have been scared. You may have been a little apprehensive. Maybe that morning you weren't feeling too good. You may have been a little apprehensive, but you went ahead to get out there and experience it. I'm sorry. Keep going. I jumped in, but I
No,
just
no,
had to
but you hit
highlight
the nail
that.
on the head in terms of, so do it within your skill set, right? I mean,
Yeah.
before, when you don't have the illness, yeah, you want to be at that edge. You want to move into the discomfort zone because that's where the excitement is, right? And that's where the learning is. So you want to push into there. My One of my books, the last one I wrote, is called The Edge of Now. And there's a reason for that, right? Because I want to be on the edge. I want to be in the edge between living life as much as I can and move it to the edge of where I'm just about to be discomforted, right? Where I'm feeling like, oh, this is a little more than I can go. And that's where the excitement comes, but not stepping over it because that's where the problems occur, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I did make a mistake on this South America trip where I overthought my capabilities, right? So we're in Bavaria and we're at, 15,000 feet. And I didn't give much thought because I thought, oh, yeah, I've been in the mountains before, right? And I know what it's like to be in the mountains, blah, blah, blah. And we did spend 2 weeks down in Atacama, which is about, 14,000 feet. So I think I've done my acclimation. So we get up to Bavaria and we're at bound to between 15,000 and 18,000 feet, right?
Ooh.
And I had my watch on me, my Apple Watch, but I didn't look at it. And we're concluding for the day, and I am just fit to be tied. Uh, my partner's lips are blue, right?
Ooh.
And she has cut way back in terms of her energy level. I can't understand why I'm dizzy. I'm having heart issues in terms of palpitations. I'm having a hard time breathing. And come to realize that we were not just suffering from hyperthermia, yeah, hypothermia.
Hyperthermia? Yeah.
Yeah,
Hypothermia.
I was at the stage where I was at HAPE, right? I was suffering from a pulmonary, and if I looked at my freaking watch, I would have seen that I was a 72% oxygen level
Oh.
all day long,
Oh.
right? Ooh, no, it's
Yeah.
not good, right?
No, not
And
good at all.
so mistake one was not doing my homework in terms of use the tools around you, right? Second mistake was the guides that were with us did not have any kind of medical equipment. They didn't have an oxygen tank, right? They didn't have anything else in it. And so I'm sitting, and we're about to enter our hostel for the night, and I'm saying, I can't do this. I can't spend the entire night at 72% oxygen because either I'll be brain dead in the morning, right? And so we got to do something about this. And my guides are saying, oh, well, this is where we are. We are in the middle of nowhere. The closest town, and it's not even a town. It's like a 4 buildings. It's
Yeah.
7 hours away, right? I said, okay, well, there must be some sort of medical facility. Well, there's the army camp. That's about 5 miles away, but they won't accept anyone because it's a fortified. I said, well, then we have to get out of here. So we spent 7 hours driving in a car where I was like, ah, and then we end up. Um, I was suffering from HAPE, right? And so we had to try to get me down to, and that was the end of the holiday. So my 4 months crapped out at 2 months because I didn't do my
Oh,
homework about being at altitude too long, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. It goes back to an earlier topic, the managing risk. There are risks to
and doing your
take.
homework.
There are risks to take, but to do your homework. Um, Not in a similar vein, but my little brother did it almost, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks in India, and they went far north and they were traveling at altitude. And they had an overnight that was probably over 18,000 feet in elevation. And they had been climbing and been getting higher, and he had been experiencing some things. But all of a sudden, he hadn't spent a night at that altitude. And he was like, I couldn't keep doing this.
Right.
There's just, and luckily it was just one night and they could continue and go lower. And he wasn't alone, but he was just like, he was telling me, he said, I was laying in that bed thinking, what have I gotten myself into? He hadn't done his homework.
Right.
He hadn't checked and been aware of what some of the issues could be.
So I'm up in this thing, and at least I had the good. I was in a good position to give a call to a good friend of mine who was a emergency nurse, right?
Hmm.
And I said,
Those are
"Hey,
good
listen,
friends to have.
yeah." Well, I said, "Here's my symptoms," and she said, "Get the fuck out of there. You got to get to lower. There's no way about this." Yeah,
Time to go
that's the
down.
only answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and the funny part, Jason, is that they did have an oxygen tank at the hospital, right? So I said, "Oh, this is great." Except the manager of the hostel said, "Yeah, but you only can have it for 5 minutes." I said, "Why only 5 minutes?" "Well, we don't want to give you more than that because we're not medical technicians and we don't know what's going to happen." I said, "Well, I can tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to get better." Right. And so
Yeah.
5 minutes into it, I'm watching my watch. I'm on the thing like this. I'm watching my watch in terms of the O2 content, and I'm up to 95. All right, this is great. I'm feeling better, right? And the guy taps me on the shoulder. "Well, your 5 minutes are up." I said, "No." I go, "Yes, it is." And and all of it, boom, right back down again. I said, "Ah, one of the things you can't control."
Yes, there are those fun factors that are out of our control. Um, but I think attitude is the is it may be the most important thing that we can control when we're traveling, when we're living life. Um, but we travel with family. If I could control my daughter's attitude when we're traveling, when she gets tired, hungry, jet lagged,
Angry.
cranky, oh, it's like, man, I wish I had that control, just like I wish I could control the airlines. But that's when you got to stop, look inward, and go, this isn't what I need. This is what she needs. Or if you yourself are traveling and something's not going right, and all of a sudden you just start to shake, you're like, what do I need?
Top down, slow down. Right.
Yep. One of those, take a breath.
Well, but your point on attitude is is not just about someone who's got health issues, right?
Oh, no,
It's
absolutely not.
attitude of, because you have some people who go on holidays and they don't want to try anything,
They
right?
can have the most fantastic trip and come back and be fixated on, well, this one thing went wrong.
Oh,
The the air conditioner in the first hotel or the last hotel didn't work. Well, I'm sorry about that, but what about the other 2 weeks
right,
where
right.
you were in the African bush and you were seeing lions catching
Giraffes or
gazelles and
lions, yeah.
giraffes poking their heads over things, or you're, um, cruising through the South Pacific, or you're visiting Angkor Wat and this incredible, and they're like, yeah, but man, I wish that air conditioner had worked. It really sucked. I'm like, why are you hung
You're
up on
missing it.
this?
You're missing it.
You
You know,
are,
you're missing it. So I have
you're
in
missing it.
my family, we have this thing. We define fun at 4 levels,
Okay,
right?
great. We got a scale. I like it.
Good. I'm an accountant, right? So yeah, of course it's a scale. Fun
All right,
one.
level
Everyone
one.
knows what fun one is. You're laughing, you're enjoying. It's not hard to figure out. That is fun, right? Fun two. We've all done it. We've all been there. You're hiking up you short little 2 hour trek, right? And you're, I don't know, 45 minutes into it, and you're like, why the heck did I choose to come on this particular hike? It's too hot. There's too many mosquitoes. Blah blah blah. And then you get to the top and you got the summit, and it's like, oh, now I know why. This is unbelievable. So, boom. All right. A little delayed gratification.
That's fun
Fun,
too.
fun three is, yeah, your example of you spend 2 days, you're hiking, it's raining the entire time, nothing is going your way, soggy breakfast, soggy what, a sleeping bag, right? Ugh, life sucks. And then you get to the end and you've got great stories to talk about it, right? And so the gratification of it is a little bit longer, but you eventually arrive at and you say, that trip wasn't that bad. I mean, it was freaking great for these following reasons. And yeah, we had to overcome being wet in our sleeping bag. And that's what made it great. Because as I say to my kids, you're just on a trip until you have a problem, and then it becomes an adventure. And
Oh,
that's where we want
nice.
to play. Right. And if you
Yep.
turn it attitude wise, right, you turn it from it's not a problem, it's an adventure now. It's like, oh, okay. That makes a
Oh,
big
I'm
difference.
stealing that. I'm
Right.
stealing that, Tom.
Good.
That's
And
yeah.
then
Sorry, you
fun
lost that.
4 and then fun 4 is
All
those
right.
situations that really work, right? You broke your foot skiing, and there's no way. In fact, my daughter, the older daughter who I took to Belize, she suffered hyperthermia in the middle of summer, hypothermia twice when the weather was 85 to 90 degrees, right? Once because we were submerged, we were in a river. The idea was we wanted to follow this river to where it began, and it took us into the mountain. It took us into a cave, and then we were in that water cave for 4 hours, and we couldn't get out because it was just the water going in. And so it was 82 degrees. She brought her thing down. But anyway, so fun 4 is, yeah, it sucked. But after years go by, it's like pregnancy or giving birth. Most females will say the day after they give birth, I'm never having a kid again. It was too painful. But yet 3 years later, they do. Same thing holds true. So that's fun for. That you find some aspect of it that is worth doing again.
Exactly. Yep. Oh, I cannot remember the actress's name, but I think this would fall into fun 4. She went gorilla trekking, and I can't remember if it was Uganda or Rwanda, but she fell very ill and
Oh,
had to have multiple people, medical personnel, come and like carry her through the mountains out. And there's a picture, and she just, you think of movie stars and they're glamorous and thin and
glamorous, right?
beautiful, and the hair's a mess. She's got no makeup on, sweaty, torn clothes, dirty. She's on this stretcher, and the leg is all, I mean, just wrapped up. And she will tell you that she had an amazing trip.
Right,
She focused on the part where she trekked to the gorillas. The time she spent with the gorillas, she didn't dwell on, hey, I almost died for
right.
this strange disease that had nothing to do with where she was that just happened to crop up. And I may be getting that wrong. I can't remember the details. But
But
that's
that's
a fun
exactly it.
4. Yeah.
Right, right,
She's focusing on the good stuff. It's that point of view, that attitude
right,
that things aren't always going to be perfect, but I am going to experience as much as I can and enjoy it to the best of my ability.
right. Because the old adage used to be the man with the most toys or the person with the most toys wins.
Yeah,
It's about who has the most experiences. That's where I land.
I I would agree. I would agree very much. Um, I've really enjoyed talking with you. Um, I want to give you 2 opportunities before we wrap up. The first one is any advice that you want to share with anyone, whether they've had a cancer diagnosis, family member, or just may feel stuck and don't know how to break out of things. I would love for you to share whatever advice you feel might be helpful for them.
2 words, and I can't they're not my words, they're a Nike commercial. Do it.
That's pretty good advice. There's not, I'm sure they workshop that a lot, but I think it works not just for Nike, but for a lot of folks. Yes, do it. I
Do
like
it.
it.
Right, yeah, well, why you can spend so much time thinking about things sometimes that you overthink it, you overcomplicate it, you overrisk it, and if you just did it, it would be a different story.
Yeah. I would modify it and say, do it with a great attitude.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I
It's a
think
lot to ask for.
the attitude precedes that because if you have a great attitude, you will do it. If you've got a one, ain't going nowhere.
That's a good point. That is a good point. I sit corrected. Very
I
nice.
wasn't trying to correct you. I was just putting a
No,
different spin
I,
to it.
I that's a good point though. The second thing, I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about your books, and I think you've got a Substack. So
Yes.
if people
Yes.
want more, besides emailing us at travelshow@adventurelife.com or commenting on the YouTube channel, they can also find your books and join your Substack. Please tell me what they are.
Yes. So, I have two banners or newsletters on Substack. One is called The Edge of Now,
Hmm.
and it's about my journey, um, of through it's my journey through cancer, and it's not just about cancer. It's about just life as you get older. Things are different.
And I'm going to plug it. I've read this particular Substack. I haven't had cancer. It's still very uh, great information. It's great insights. And unfortunately, there's probably too many people out there who may not have cancer, but know someone close to them who has. It's great to read something along these lines.
Well, I mean, it's not about cancer. It's about grief. It's about, because
Yeah.
we all face these things, right? We all, inertia. In terms of your point, what would you tell someone to do something? We all suffer from inertia. Sometimes it's easier just to be in your couch with the covers around you, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
this feels
Yeah.
good. I don't want to move from this. I'm protected, but you need to break through it. You need to break the inertia to go off and do it, right? Oh, was the
And
other
what's
one?
the other Substack called?
The other Substack is very different. It's political, but it's not political in terms of Democrat or Republic. It's political in the sense of I have taken my auditor lens, my business of understanding systems and finding where the risk is in those systems and what we can do to mitigate those risks. Right. I've taken that lens and applied it to our U.S. government in terms of where we are today, in terms of a federal government who doesn't understand that they are citizens that they are still representing and have think that they're representing capital, right? Because all we do is promote deregulation, minimizing the friction of doing business in America, right? It's all about business being able to do what they do here, extracting from the people that live here. And so that's
Gotcha.
called the quiet collapse, right?
Quiet
Um,
collapse.
and again, it's not partisan. It's
Right.
about, you know, and I look at the Constitution and I use the Constitution as my measuring stick that I apply forward, right? So
Yeah.
I like it. It's interesting, and I have a book coming out on that called The Quiet Collapse. Oh, big deal, right? What happened to the We the People, right? That's the name of the book.
Yeah.
So those are the two things, and the books that I have. So The Quiet Collapse is coming out in a month. Um, Another book that has nothing to do with cancer, but it has everything to do with traveling solo, which I thought we were going to go for a while, and in the winter. It's called Embracing the Cold. And I wrote that because everyone complains about the winter, right? No one likes the winter. And yet it's one of our seasons that exists. And, you either can embrace it, thus the name,
Yeah.
or not. And
Oh,
if,
I
and
know a
if you
few folks
don't,
that love the winter.
oh, I love the winter. It's my
Yeah.
favorite season, right?
My
But,
wife
but,
is
but,
not one of them, but I know plenty of folks that love it.
but you can find ways to enjoy it, right?
Yes.
And part of it, and my daughter once told me, she goes, Dad, there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just poor choice of clothing.
There you go. She's got the right attitude. I
She
like it.
does. She does. She
Yeah.
does. She does. She's also
I
the
wonder
same
who her
kid.
father is. Who taught her that?
Yeah. Yeah, she also told me. I noticed after a long time of our doing our adventures around the world, her eating habits. Right, we go out for dinner, and she's the most courageous person I ever seen in terms of what she eats. If there's something in the menu she doesn't know what it is, she's ordering that. So after a while, I said to her, Caroline, I don't take this as being negative. I mean, I applaud. I mean, I what you're doing is great. I said, but I'm just surprised that you do that. Well, she goes, Dad, I'm with you. I'm going, what do you mean by that? Well, if I don't like it, I know you'll be able to buy another plate for me.
It's the dad factor. There you go.
There's
Yeah.
no risk to her, right? Yeah, if I don't like it, I just take it away. But at least I can say I tried it. Yeah,
She's not going to go hungry.
no.
Uh,
And the other three
ironically,
books are cancer. One's The Edge of Now, which is about my 4 months traveling or 2 months traveling in South America. The
right?
other is Chasing My Northern Lights, which is when I lived in my camper truck for 7 months, right? In I spent 7 months living in my truck camper, traveling from east to west in Canada, and then north to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska,
Oh, wow.
all in the wintertime.
Impressive. Yeah.
Different. And then Living While Dying is the first book.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thom, I want to thank you for your time and coming on and sharing your insights with us. Very eye opening. I hope this reaches a lot of people. Those who need it, those who don't know they need it. And I hope a lot of attitudes about travel turn very positive.
Good.
All right.
So do I. I think travel's the best thing.
Great. You've been listening to the Adventure Life Travel Show, stories of travel that educate, inspire, and change us. In short, this is a podcast for anyone who wants to go on an adventure, for those ready to travel the world, and maybe those who want to change from within by changing their surroundings. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts for new episodes every month and see our full catalog at adventurelife.com. Now get out there and go.